Actually, may mga tao na gusto nila na i-oust ko siya, na i-share ko ang pangalan niya. Ayaw kong siraan ng tao. The point isn't to tear people down. The point is to analyze ideas.
Mabuhay kayo. Paki-subscribe at sampalin ang kampana.
Ulitin ko, huwag kalimutan na sampalin ang like at sampalin ang kampana. Kung inyong kikampi na si Puting Pinoy, isang puti na may pusong Pinoy. So ito ang kwento. Kagabi, pagkatapos namin mag-record ng isang vlog, I received a message request on Facebook Messenger. The person seemed to be very eager to speak to me and said things that, out of context, didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But he seemed very persistent and almost demanding na mag-usap kami. Nung una, sinabi niya na gusto niya akong kausapin dahil sa isang presentation na ilalahad niya sa isang university sa Brazil. He mentioned that he wanted to speak about Filipino identity, which I thought was a little weird given that I'm not Filipino and he is. But I thought, siguro napanood niya yung mga video ko. Ganon din, he seemed to be all over the place. Like at the very beginning of this message, he says we kind of have a discussion in the group where we never got acknowledged on Filipino identity. I have a friend in Brazil who is well known. Like, it was kind of all over the place. Sobrang labo ng ano bang gusto niya talaga. So I told him, pasensya, medyo busy ako. I'm editing a video. I have all these projects. And he said, it'll just take a little time. By the way, I'm an editor. Like, oh, whatever. Like, and then he's like, but please, if you could just give me 10 minutes, it'll be only 10 minutes. So, sa wakas, sinabi ko, okay, sure, why not? Baka gusto niyang mag-collab or baka gusto niyang pag-usapan ang mga sinabi ko in a video, you know, I don't know. Sabi niya na hindi ka magsisisi, magiging magandang pag-uusap. Kaya, with this pretense, I went ahead and answered the call. And nung sumagot, I said, hey, kumusta ka na? And then what was his reaction?
Hindi talaga siya nag-reply to that, kamusta ka na? Walang friendly tone, walang effort to build rapport. You asked kung napanood, tinanong mo, kinonfirm mo, gagawa ka ng video tungkol sa, or presentation tungkol sa Filipino identity. Napanood mo ba yung video ko? And then he replied, oo, napanood ko, nag-usap tayo, hindi mo nga ako kinreddit, hindi mo kami kinreddit dun sa group.
Yeah, and I was confused, like, ano ba ang ibig mong sabihin? And it felt like I was being recorded, so I felt really off from the start. Hindi ko talaga alam kung anong layunin niya because he very quickly entered in points about what I'm this person, I work at a prestigious American tech company. My father is in the military, he's a general. I have cousins who are colonels in the military. Intelligent ako. Yan ang sabi niya.
Sabi niya, I may sound crazy, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm very quiet person pag personal.
Yeah.
Pero ngayon, ganito ako.
At one point, may sinabi siya that he'd done research on me. So he said, hey, so are you salty? Nalito ako. What do you mean, am I salty? Sabi niya, you lived in Salt Lake City, right? Sabi ko, oh yeah, I lived there for a bit. And then sabi niya, do you shake the salt from your balls? Nagulantang ako, like, what? What are you talking about? And then he was like, oh, yeah, it's a joke. So anyway, so we went ahead and proceeded, and it felt like paligoy-ligoy yung mga punto niya. Like, mas lalo ako naguluhan, like, ano ba talaga ang gusto niya sa akin? And Gail was sitting by my side. She started making notes on her phone. And pinakita niya sa akin, be careful about talking about anything political. Baka iibahin niya ang mga sasabihin ko. And
Kasi set up.
yeah, it could be a setup. He could be trying to do something where he could, I don't know, oust me or something.
So, tinatanong mo paulit-ulit na
Ano
anong
bang layunin?
Oo, anong layunin at na hesitant ka magbigay kasi nga hindi mo siya kilala.
Yes, and then he said, I gave you my name, like, you know who I am now. And then I said, pero hindi ko alam kung anong layunin mo. And he was like, I just want to know your opinions on these things. And so sinabi niya, like, what's your opinion on LGBTQ? Well, lalo ako na off, like, what does that have to do with anything? Because of what Gail had said, I was like, I don't know what I should say or answer. Like, what if he changes what I say?
Mm-hmm. So, yun, medyo hesitant ka sumagot sa kanya. Pero, pinipress ka talaga niya na magbigay ng opinion. And dumating sa punto na nagsiset siya ng meeting.
Yeah, biglang magsaset na siya ng meeting. 8 a.m. ang sabi niya. Sabi ko, what? Like, huh?
And there will be 3 of you. Kasama yata yung Brazilian person.
Yeah, I was like, what? Ano bang punto niya? Also, about that Brazilian person, he mentioned that the Brazilian person had been getting persecuted. So that was another reason why I was like, oh, you know, as a foreigner, maybe he wants to talk about what it's like being a foreigner, you know, and if there's persecution, blah, blah, blah. So that was part of the reason I answered the phone. Anyway.
And then, dahil nga nagsaset siya ng meeting, nagdadahilan ka na para to get off, di ba, na get off the call.
Yeah.
Na busy ka, which is
True. Yeah, I was
madami
editing a
ginagawa.
video.
Daming
Katatapos lang
projects,
natin mag-film.
Tapos nagalit siya kasi di niya matanggap, parang sabi niya, mas mahalaga yung projects mo kaysa sa civil rights.
Yeah, well, and he also said, hindi ka busy. I was like, what? Paano mo masasabi yan? How do you know my life? You know? And so mas lalo ako nagduda, like kung sino ba siya at kung masama ba ang layunin niya. Like lalo ko naisip yan. And then he asked me, what is your opinion on Filipino identity? And then I said,
What I should have said is, how can I possibly answer that loaded question? But instead I said,
I made a video about it, napanood mo naman. And then he said, yeah, you didn't credit me. And
then he said, tell me right now what your thoughts are on Filipino identity.
And then I said, well, I mean, wala naman akong masasabi ngayon. And he was like, what? You don't have an opinion? Ka ba nagbabasa? You don't read? You're stupid? Where did you get those ideas? You got them from us. You stole those ideas from us. And sabi ko, how do you know that? Paano mo alam yan? I said, hindi kita kilala. And then nagwala siya. Binabaliwala mo ako at bakla ako.
Sobrang personal na wala namang dapat panggalingan. I mean, hindi namin maintindihan kung saan niya nakuha yon kasi walang sinabing anything about him being gay. Walang sinabing anything about the LGBT. Hindi nga makapagbigay ng opinion kasi nag-iingat, di ba?
Yeah, and ganoon din, lagi siya sumisingit. Hindi niya ako pinapatapos. So lahat ng bagay, and this whole conversation just kept going one place to another place. Kaya sobrang, you know, like nahihilo na ako.
Sobrang nakakalito at additional pa yung high na emotions niya.
Yes.
Para siyang naiiyak every time na nagsasalita siya. Sumisigaw siya na hindi mo mapakalma. Pero tinatry mo pa din na alamin, di ba? Binibigyan
And
mo siya
intindihin siya.
Oo,
Yeah, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Pero dun sa mga pagtatanong mo na hindi pagtatanong. Well, dun sa pag-i-express mo na hindi kasi kita kilala, hindi ko alam ang layunin mo. Every time, parang nagiging attack yung dating sa kanya. Kaya kapag nag-retaliate siya, sobrang malala.
And insulting, like
oo.
about I'm not smart, I don't read books, I've never read a book in my life, I don't do research, oh, I'm a phony. Tapos biglang sinabi niya, kahit kanina in this conversation, he said, hindi kita, like I'm not going to harm you, I'm not going to do anything to harm you, I'm not going to record this. Then he started to say, i-expose kita. Like, I'm gonna do everything para i-cancel ka. And so Gail just really wanted me to get off the phone. But I didn't know what to do. Like, how do I assess the situation? How do I manage what's going on?
You proceeded to explaining na, well, hindi ka naman Pinoy. Diba? Never mo kinlaim na Pinoy ka. And
Yeah.
when he took out his phone and said, wait, can you say that again? Kasi i-record kita.
Yeah. And then sabi ko, ano ba ang layunin mo? You know, and then I had also told him about the whole thing about stealing ideas. Paano mo masasabi kung saan nanggagaling ang mga ideas ko? You know, mahaba ang buhay natin. And I give credit where credit is due. Paano mo masasabi kung saan nanggagaling ang mga ideas ko? You know, the video that I had made was Kirby Araulio. He was the content creator that I based a lot of my knowledge about the history of the first Filipino, El Conde Filipino. You know, I based it on him. Gail was with me. She knows the research that I did. I did Google searches. I read up on Wikipedia. Anyhow, as he was recording me, say that again, the call dropped. And then nag-send pa siya ng ilan pang messages. Pinaperahan mo lang kami mga Filipino, and I just let it go. And I was shocked, and we were both shocked. We both felt very uneasy. We both felt very harassed. Saan nanggagaling ang ganitong galit niya? I have no idea. So yun mga kakampi, it's actually a couple days later since I filmed part of this video. Nag-reflect na talaga ako about what happened, and yes, it was very disorienting, it was very upsetting, but isa sa mga napagtanto ko tungkol sa situation na ito is he probably just didn't know how to communicate what he wanted to get across, or
wala siyang karanasan siguro sa pagko-conduct ng isang interview, kaya halo-halo yung nangyari, madami masyadong
hindi malinaw kung ano ba yung mga layunin niya, and I think I realized kung ano ang layunin niya, and I don't think na masama ang gusto niyang malaman sa akin. So, unang-una, gusto niyang malaman kung ano ba yung feelings ko tungkol sa LGBTQ+. Yeah, it's Pride Month, diba? So, siguro gusto lang niyang malaman kasi yun, bakla siya. So, kung nanonood ka, you know, ganito ang masasabi ko tungkol dyan. Naniniwala ako na lahat ng mga tao dapat may mga rights sila. Sa video na ginawa ko tungkol sa First Filipino, yung El Conde Filipino, isa sa mga sinabi ni Kirby Araulio was that he was very much about the freedoms and rights and equality of people, whatever the form of government was back then, about having free education. He was all about equality. That does apply to the LGBTQ plus community. And I wasn't always that open-minded. I grew up in a very conservative religion, but for the past 9-10 plus years, I've realized, ayon sa science, ayon sa mga personal experiences of people, na yung pagiging LGBTQ plus member ay hindi basta-basta. It's not a choice. It's not a lifestyle that people choose. It's what they feel. It's who they are. It's their identity. So yes, pagdating sa mga LGBTQ plus members, they should be given rights. So, I think dahil bakla siya, siguro nagalit siya nung narinig niya na hesitant akong sumagot tungkol dyan, right? But at the time, I was worried. I just didn't know what was going on. It felt kind of like he was experiencing some sort of trauma, and yeah, I can understand that. Like, ayon sa kanya, he really thought na ninakaw ko ang mga ideas niya, and I didn't. Just for the record, I did not. Honestly, I didn't notice who he was when he wrote the comment to me. And later, Gail and I looked at the original post he was referring to, and he had two comments there. And one of them, I went ahead and I did like it. But, you know, I react to a lot of comments. My ideas, like I said already, it mostly came from Google searches and most of all Kirby Araulio. But I understand puti nga ako. Puti ang ina ko. You know, like, so I understand where some sort of duda would come from. Honestly, I don't have the right to tell anybody na dapat tanggapin ako, ganito, ganyan, yan ang dahilan. If somebody doesn't like me, I understand. Matagal yung kasaysayan ng pangangapi dito sa Pilipinas. And kalunos-lunos yan. It's a tragedy. I'm ashamed that happened, and that this face that I have, it can remind people of that trauma. And it's not fair that those things happened ever. I can't tone police somebody. I would hope na pwedeng makaroon ng makabuluhang pag-uusap para mas malutas yung mga internalized pain, and hopefully to create some sort of makabuluhan na pag-uusap, you know?
gaya ng layunin mo, di ba? Sa channel na to.
You know, but no, I do hope to be a benefit and of value to people. I don't want people to experience trauma dahil sa akin. Pagdating sa pinaperahan mo lang ang mga Pilipino, siyempre bilang isang content creator, makakapera ako. Sa totoo lang, I've made about 100,000 pesos from 3 years of content creation. You know, that's about 33,000 pesos a year. Hindi naman ganyan kalaki.
Pero mas gusto mo talaga.
Yeah, you know, bilang isang content creator, I think it's fair na mabayaran yung tao. Pero mas mahalaga pa sa akin na makabuluhan ng content na pinaproduce ng tao. Kung makabuluhan yung content, you know, hindi lang tungkol sa pera yung ginagawa niya, may iba pang layunin, may mas malalim ng layunin, sana hindi yan pagproblemahin, you know? Kaya kahit medyo mababa yung mga kinita ko so far from this channel, I continue because I believe na mahalaga na pag-usapan ng mga ibang bagay na pinag-uusapan natin dito sa channel na ito. I get comments from you, mga kakampi, that nakatulong ang isa sa mga vlogs ko sa inyo. Yan ang pinakamalaking joy ko, you know, is that makakatulong ako sa mga kakampi ko.
At siyempre, umaasa ako na tataas yung mga views sa videos ko at makakapera ako. Sinong YouTuber ang ayaw dyan?
Bigay ng perspective.
Yeah, na magbigay ng perspective. Which, by the way, noon, medyo takot ako, medyo mahiyain akong magsalita ng aking pananaw. Kasi, oo nga, alam ko, puti ako. And I don't want to speak out of turn. So, I did notice something though, eventually. And it took a lot of years. It took a lot of years for me to realize this. Mayroon palang mga grupo ng mga Pinoy na yung mga napansin ko kasi yung kinalakihan kong relihiyon at kultura is very similar to a lot of the aspects, the good and the bad aspects of the Filipino culture. So, noticing these similarities, I had my ideas about these things. Well, ganyan pala, there's so many people that actually share a lot of the same perspectives that I do. But a lot of these perspectives aren't even being shared very publicly. They're not being discussed on YouTube. Well, okay. So, pwede kong gamitin ang platform ko bilang isang kakampi para pag-usapan ang mga mahalagang bagay na ito. Maging controversial man o hindi, I want to speak from my heart kung anong pinapaniwalaan ko as tama. So, overall mga kakampi, hindi ako naggagalit sa taong ito. At actually, may mga tao na gusto nila na i-oust ko siya, na i-share ko ang pangalan niya. Ayaw kong siraan ng tao. Pag pinag-uusapan natin ng isang bagay, we're talking about ideas. We're not talking about people. The point isn't to tear people down. The point is to analyze ideas and to generate discussions from them para matuto tayo sa mga bagay na ito. Gusto kong pasalamatan yung suporta na ibinigay ng Facebook group na yan kasi na-share ko yung story ko about what happened and sobrang supportive yung community na yon. Hindi ko siguro babanggitin ang pangalan ng grupo na yan. Some people siguro want to remain anonymous. At gusto kong pasalamatan si Gail.
Mano.
Kung hindi dahil kay Gail, I think mas lalo ako naguluhan nakarang gabi. I think hanggang ngayon siguro naguluhan pa rin ako. But malaki ang tulong mo and malaki ang tulong ng mga ka-FB group members na yun. So, maraming salamat for all of that support.
At sa mga kakampi na nag-express din ng kanilang concern.
Yes, at siyempre, hindi makakalimutan kayo na mga kakampi ko. Intindihin din natin yung taong ito na hindi siguro masama talaga yung layunin niya. Siguro hindi lang niya alam kung paanong ipaliwanag ng maayos. Just created a weird situation. But that's okay. We live, we learn. And yan ang punto ng vlog na ito is we live, we learn. You know, give people the benefit of the doubt. Pag may mga tao na may mga sinasabi sila sa'yo, siyempre be mindful of whatever your boundaries are. But at the same time, I think it's important to not instantly write people off as being trolls. Or to not instantly think of them as being some kontrabida. Like, kung minsan I think people have very set ideas of things, and if we try to be civil in the way that we discuss things, we can get a lot more done, you know, than just beating our chests or sumisigaw.
Respeto.
Yeah,
Respeto
respeto lang, and pakinggan natin ang isa't isa. I do, mapapansin nyo siguro in comment sections, I will respond to people bashing me, or I don't think I'm supposed to not have meaningful discussions, or at least try. Kung ayaw pa rin nila, that's okay. At least I can explain or try to have a conversation that's meaningful. Hindi natin alam kung ano yung mga struggles na pinagdadaanan ng tao. So, yan lang mga kakampi. Maraming salamat sa panonood and sa suporta. Ulitin ko, huwag kalimutan na sampalin ang like at sampalin ang kampana. Up here mga kakampi. And by the way, maraming salamat sa channel members dito. Nurse Candy, Joy Casamayor, and Charilyn Gunda. Maraming salamat mga kakampi sa pagiging mga channel members.